Hello folks, you're all very welcome back to another episode of a Celtic Soul podcast with me, Andrew Milne. This episode of the podcast has been kindly sponsored by O'Shea's Restaurant in Temple Bar, Dublin, and Martin and his staff are looking forward to welcoming everybody back on the 29th of June. Later on I will be talking to Bobby Petta about his career at Celtic and life on the DJ circuit. We will also be chatting about racism in society and in football. But first up we go to Philadelphia, where we caught up with Charlie Lord. Charlie, who was born and brought up in Belfast but now lives on the east coast of America, a lifelong Celtic supporter. Delighted today to be joined by Philadelphia-based, Belfast-born Celtic supporter Charlie Lord. How are you doing, Charlie?
I'm doing good, thank you, Millish. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, Charlie, not bad. It'll be better when the pubs are open.
Oh, 100%. They're open here for you can order food for pickup and stuff, but you can't go in and have a pint. It's obviously different over here in terms of how they're dealing with this pandemic. Look, there's so much going on here in America at the moment, Millish. I don't even know where to start, between pandemics and race riots and Black Lives Matter, no Celtic to watch on the TV. But at least it's a beautiful sunny day.
It's always sunny in Philadelphia.
Indeed, it's always sunny in Philadelphia. Down there at Paddy's Pub.
Oh, one of the best I was in. Charlie, I want to just take you back to the start. When did you leave Belfast?
1987. Born in 66. I'm 54 years old, so I'm kind of an older vintage, left in 87. I just turned 2021. I figured, maybe something could be out there in the world. Sunshine, different life, try something different out of Belfast, 33 years ago it was now.
And Belfast, unrecognisable city now from the city you left?
Yeah, very much so. It's improved a lot, things moved on. Hopefully they'll continue to improve. I do try to get home, obviously, over the years. I've made a big effort to get home. My father still lives there, lives alone. He's 80 years old. So I try to get back to see him as much as I can, because that time with him and with family and friends is invaluable. When you've been away for so long, you really get to kind of understand the value of it, how important it is. Like when I was young, and I think it's for a lot of immigrants, a young person, you kind of embrace the whole idea of the adventure and going out there in life and seeing what, lies ahead and taking on the challenges. But now that I'm 54, I'm married, American wife, American kids, and my daughter Grace is 17, my son Connor's 14, and now as an older guy and a parent and a father and a husband, you kind of look back when you were younger, and now you kind of begin to see stuff you've left behind, because it's just been a long time, and you miss so much in terms of family and weddings for friends and kids getting born, and even my own nieces and nephews, kind of not seeing them so much over the years. 33 years is a long time, Millish,
And Charlie, obviously, the media always paints the picture of Belfast and the six counties as they paint it as the troubles. Others look at as the conflict. What are your memories of growing up in Belfast, Charlie?
Well, it was just kind of our normality, I'm looking at what's happening here in the United States at the moment in terms of Black Lives Matter and the civil disorder. I can't help but see broad parallels with the general experience at home when I was a boy. I was about 4 years old when that all started, the troubles, the conflict, like you say, whatever term you want to use. So I grew up during the 70s, and going to school and stuff, and then the hunger strikes and going to secondary school during the 80s, and then by 87 I'd left. But in terms of social, political, and economic issues that affected Irish Catholic community back there at that time, and what I'm seeing here in the United States with the social, political, economic issues that affect the African American community, I can't help but see some broad parallels, but that might just be my own, it's my own worldview and what I kind of... Belfast leaves an impression on you when you grow up there. It's, how would I say, it's how you kind of interacted with the world, experienced the world, and it forms your worldview, So, yeah, I see some parallels with what's happening here in the United States at this moment in time.
Now, Charlie, obviously Belfast, it's a big Celtic supporting city. and you leave, and then obviously you didn't have the media outlets you have now to follow the team. What was it like in those early years and through the decades, following Celtic from so far away?
Well, it was tough. I mean, as you remember, probably, in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, there was a lot of folks, young people leaving Ireland because there was no job opportunities and stuff, and a lot of us came here to the United States, and there's a lot of us here in the cities, Chicago, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, etc. And in those days, I mean, we're talking before the internet. And you just couldn't get to see Celtic. You would maybe get a newspaper. It was basically impossible for a couple of years. And then when the internet came along, things got a bit better. And we had our Celtic supporters clubs in the 90s. And now I remember the early days of Celtic TV and stuff, and it would like buffer all the time. It was just a nightmare. It was a pain in the butt. But now it's great. I mean, I watch every single Celtic game, whether it's anything that I get my hands on, whether it's preseason, whether it's the early qualifying games, Europe, and then obviously regular season games. I just consume it. Like I'll study the match. I'll be wanting to see what the team selection's like, who's the new player, how's he playing, what tactics are we using, everything, And hey, look, that's kind of like my downtime. I work hard here in the United States, as most of us do, and my downtime is to watch Celtic, and I just really enjoy it,
Yeah, you mentioned work, Charlie. You're a college lecturer.
Yeah, I teach business. I've been teaching business for 20 years, department chair of the business faculty. Yeah, I also have an internet company called CelticClothing.com. Again, with the internet, when that kind of came along, I kind of took to that pretty quickly because that was a way to keep in touch with home and get news from home, So I adapted pretty quickly and embraced it, started an internet company. I import Irish clothes, and my target audience is Irish Americans. So we've a good digital presence right now, 42,000 fans or something on Facebook, and we're on Instagram and obviously our website. So that keeps me between teaching business and running an internet business. I stay very, very busy. But America, man, you gotta work hard here. I mean, there's very little in terms of a social safety net or anything. I think you can get unemployment here, but I think it only lasts for like 6 months. So it's kind of like you have to. And look, I'll be perfectly honest. When I arrived here, I was an illegal immigrant straight out of Belfast, so I didn't have a choice. If I didn't work, I didn't eat. That was just the way of it. You had to go to work. Now, look. We had a big network here. There was a lot of Irish lads, and getting work, if you were ready to work and willing to work, it was there, So you just kind of had to get on with it.
Now, Charlie, you support a lot of Irish businesses. You buy Irish, you import into the States, high-end tweeds and the like. I know because I know the last meet over, you dropped into me in the More Than 90 Minutes office here, and I think you'd been to Kerry and you'd been to Donegal. You source a lot of...
Yeah, we'll, as you probably know, we sell a lot of, like, as you say, like tweed flat caps and waistcoats. Over here, they call them vests, all tweed waistcoats, and a lot of Irish wool. But yeah, we have Hannah hats up in Donegal there. We work with a lot, and Aaron Woolen Mills in County Mayo, and Muckross Weavers down in Kerry, and Emerald Isle down, actually not too far from you. Emerald Isle are based in Navan, which I think is only about 30 minutes west of you.
Yeah, we have a couple of boys from Navan in the supporters club.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so I work a lot with, and I support all those Irish companies and try to promote Ireland and just in the United States to the Americans. I mean, the UPS guy was delivering just a few days ago, and he was talking about going to. His name is Kevin Breen. Is his name? He's an American fella, and he was saying, "Hey, Charlie, I'm thinking about going to Ireland and taking the family over." Not this year, obviously, but next. And I stood there telling him about different places to go and different things to see. And I was like an ambassador, promoting Ireland for the tourist industry. But nearly every Irish immigrant does that. We're like individual ambassadors. We're the diaspora, and we kind of speak up for Ireland, promote Ireland without even really knowing it, But we just do it instinctively because it's our country, it's our homeland,
While we're talking about the Celtic clothing, Charlie, I have to get my own plug in because you've kindly agreed to stock my Celtic Soul merchandise and become the American partner.
Oh, absolutely. We are the Philadelphia office, my friend. We are the North American office. And I cannot wait to get that going, It's a different audience, obviously, being a Celtic fan, loving Glasgow Celtic. And, there's a lot of Scottish and Irish lads here who get that. The Americans won't get it. Most Irish Americans, like even in our club, the Plowboys down in Centre City, Philadelphia, we do have Irish Americans in there. So it's unfair to say some will get it, but it's a much smaller audience, I think is what I'm trying to say. But it's a very specific audience, and it's an audience that needs the opportunity to get some of that fan gear for fans, by fans, So yeah, I'm excited about that. It's there's a Celtic Soul theme, the old mod stuff, the old two-tone ska stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're just going to make it available online. Click, CelticClothing.com. You can get all that awesome Celtic. So I'd say it'll be ready for launch, and I'd say ready in about a month. And the launch will probably coincide with hopefully the start of the new season. I'm not quite sure what date. Are they talking about August for the
August the 1st, I believe.
Okay, yeah, and I'm hearing that they're talking about finishing off the Scottish Cup.
Yes, that looks like that's going to happen too.
That is...
Well, it's only 3 games.
Yeah, but I mean, that's going to be golden because that puts the quadruple treble back on the table, right?
Sure does. The quadriphenia.
Yeah, because I remember falling asleep one night in bed. I'm like, oh, man. I think it was just after we would have been awarded the league. And I'm going to bed, I'm thinking, oh, man, a quadruple treble, that would have been great. I mean, that was stolen away from us. And now it's back on the table. So I'm really happy about that,
Sure is, Charlie. Charlie, I just want to talk a little bit, because I've met you numerous times over the years. First met you in Las Vegas, I think. And then you stayed with me when you attended a festival in Dundee many years ago. And since then, we've met a couple of times. You've always been very good to me when I go to Philadelphia for the Plowboys gigs. But as someone who integrated into US society, you embraced politics, but you didn't embrace the American sports.
No. I just didn't have the time or the inclination or the interest, Been to a few. Like, I went to baseball just to check it out, and, it's not my thing. And I've been to a couple of American football games, Eagles, obviously. But no, it just wasn't for me. I mean, football and Celtic is what I'm interested in. And maybe it's, there's only so much time when you're working, and as I say, you're a father and you're working and teaching and doing all this stuff. There's only so much time you have. If I'm sitting watching Celtic, I can't. An American football game will last 3 hours. So it's just not my thing. I just didn't get into it. My son Connor now, he loves the American football. He plays in his school team and all that, and he's all into it. But I wouldn't have a clue who or what he's talking about. Look, it's only because he was what was he called? He called a safety. I didn't even know what a safety was, until he started playing that position, I mean, it's nuts to me. I mean, they have 2 teams. They've one team for attack, offense, and then they bring them all off when the other team's got the ball, and they bring on a whole new team for defense. I didn't even know that,
And 23 years and you're still learning.
I'm still learning, I tell you. But
look, Charlie, you've always found time to come home to see Celtic and go to World Cups.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah. I mean, getting, as I said earlier there, I'll watch all the games here at home. Like, you kind of have to understand, because of the time difference, a Celtic match could come on at 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning. It might be a 12:30 kickoff in Scotland. So I'm sitting downstairs with my cup of tea, and my wife and kids are upstairs sleeping. And it's like daddy time, and I'll sit and watch whatever it is, midweek games. I'll watch every damn game. So to get home and be able to go to Celtic Park and see Celtic, and just the day out and seeing old friends, a couple of pints, bit of crack, I love that. And it is a long day when you're traveling all the way from Ireland and you're on the boats and buses and all that stuff, and then all the way home. It's a long day, but that's kind of like living. Yeah, that's just, I enjoy it. To me, that is a great big treat. That's just a wonderful day out, And you mentioned the World Cup. Yes, I was at the World Cup in Russia, and that was good. I actually got to the World Cup final, which was a once in a lifetime kind of experience and opportunity, So that's memorable. Not as memorable, however, as the Scottish Cup final at Hampden Park, if you remember. when for the first invincible treble. I was just thinking about it today. We were 1-0 down. Johnny Hayes had scored for Aberdeen, and then Armstrong equalised, and then Rogic got a late winner. I mean, that was tremendous. And we Tierney, he was at hospital, and then he came back through the crowd to lift the cup, and the passion that he was showing was fantastic. And the reason I was thinking about that, I don't know why it crossed my mind, but that day, I thought that Armstrong was player of the match that day. I don't know if you remember it in much detail. I mention it because you were sitting about 6 seats down from me, 5 seats down. You obviously remember the match, of course.
Oh, I do, yeah.
What did you think of I thought Armstrong was just phenomenal that day.
Charlie, I remember seeing Armstrong. We went to Dundee to play Dundee United when Ronnie was manager. And we were beaten 2-1, I think. Jackie McNamara was Dundee United manager. And he was the standout player that day. It's funny, we went in and signed him, and we signed McCoy Stevens, who played well that day as well. We signed the two of them. And Dundee they never recovered from that. They had to sell them, I suppose, because to get good money in, but they never recovered. But we kicked on, and I do believe that by Ronnie signing them, that it probably saved his job, because people were calling for Ronnie's head that day leaving Tannadice.
Yeah, no, you're right. And Armstrong, some days great. I just that particular day, that cup final. When you mentioned the World Cup final in Moscow, it was great, but I didn't have a horse in the race. It was the French against the Croatians, and hey, look, it was an amazing experience. But when you're sitting at the Scottish Cup final or watching Celtic, you have a horse in the race, and you're screaming and you're shouting and you're passionate and you're involved. And I remember that day. I cheered more that day when Armstrong scored than I did when Rogic scored, because I knew the way the game was going, we needed to get that equaliser. Because don't forget, I'd come all the way from America for that match, so I did not want to see us lose the game. So when he scored at that time, it was pretty soon after Aberdeen had scored, I remember. But when he scored, that got us back in the match. I just knew from the flow and the ebb and flow of the game, and having played football all my life as a child growing up in Belfast, I knew we needed to get back into the match, and he was just phenomenal. Later on in the game, his distribution was great. The pace he was playing with at. But look, he moved on. I don't know if he was pushing for the move or what, but anyway, that's enough about Armstrong.
Players come and go at Celtic, but the fans remain.
Yes.
Charlie, I mentioned politics because I do want to touch on politics in America. I know you remember the Democratic Party, so I suppose you're going to be biased towards Mr. Trump. Charlie, just looking in from the outside, and someone who would share some of your views, although not a member of a political party, I look at Trump from a distance and I see a man hiding behind the American flag.
Yeah, I'm what they call in America, I'm a registered Democrat. So I'm not like a member of their party as such, but I'm registered that I vote in Democratic primaries. So I would be, very much in the Democratic side of things, and very much, opposed to Donald Trump. And I don't know where to start with that guy.
Would you be a Bernie Sanders supporter?
Well, yes, absolutely. I voted we had primaries here last week, and I voted for Bernie Sanders, even though he's no longer on the ticket. I wanted the Democrats to know. I wanted the party officials to know. It was a protest vote on my part, because Bernie had the support of the people, but the party organization and apparatus didn't want Bernie as the nominee to go against Trump, because Bernie had said, look, I'm a socialist. He's been very open about it. And the Democrats don't think you can win on that ticket. And look, they might be right. So they wanted Biden. So I voted for Bernie anyway, even though I knew it was just basically spoiling my vote, but I wanted them to know. And many other people do the same thing. So it'll be Biden against Trump. Trump, I may as well just say it, to me, he's a snake oil salesman. He panders to the Christian right. He's not a Christian or a religious guy in any way. He just wants the Christian right votes, and he lies to working class rural whites and tells them he's going to bring back, manufacturing and their jobs and all this stuff. And he's just, I'm sure you've seen it in your media. To me, he's just a barefaced liar. He will say one thing, and 20 minutes later, he'll turn around and try and claim, no, I didn't say that. It's unbelievable. It's terrible. It's tough. When he got elected, my wife and I were thinking, okay, well, how are we going to tell the kids? It was tough. I mean, I seen women and stuff crying when he was elected. But look, on the bright side and the upside, there's an election coming along in November. I was completely wrong the last time because I could not see any way Donald Trump would get elected as president of the United States. So I was totally wrong. But for what it's worth, again, I just can't see him winning. I mean, I just hope he can be defeated. I hope we beat him. I feel that, I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched, but I feel that he is going to lose this next election. I really do. I mean, it would be terrible if he won it. I don't know what else to say to you on that one.
COVID-19 caught everyone on the hop. No one really was ready for something like this. Some countries dealt with it very well, others not so good. The pictures from New York were very sad. The pictures of the open graves.
Yes, yeah, I did see that. Yeah, look, nobody's seen it coming. I think we could have been better prepared. We had time. We had a month before. I think the first cases were popping up in the United States. Maybe, I don't know if it was early February or whatever, but we had time. Like while the Spanish and the Italians were suffering from it, we had time to prepare. And we had Donald Trump running around saying that it's all fake news, that it's going to go away. He's drinking hydrochlorophyll or whatever it is he's on. And I mean, that's just incompetence and bad leadership, unpresidential. And the same thing is happening around the Black Lives Matter movement. He's divisive and confrontational. Just atrocious leadership for America. So I hope and pray that he's gone in November, and I will probably have a wee glass of whiskey or a pint of Smithwick's in celebration once he goes.
And you mentioned George Floyd there and Black Lives Matter. The protests are not just in America; they're throughout the world. People are kicking over statues. He outlawed. I suppose it's not an organization, Antifa. It's more a state of mind. Which groups support. He makes statements or he puts something out on Twitter, but obviously some people, his core vote in America, as you say, the Christian right and the far right, they just can't get enough of this guy. Yeah,
again, look, he has his base. He has his core support, I think, and some of them are extremely loyal. But he's a dangerous character. I mean, he's telling his people, don't believe the media, don't believe the press. I mean, I don't want to equate him and compare him to past regimes that had similar type tactics. But he's a dangerous character altogether. He did. He put Antifa on the terrorist list. But yet he does not do that with the far right. I mean, there's a lot of people running around. There was guys walking into city halls and places of governance armed to their teeth. And he didn't put them on watch lists or terrorist lists. He didn't even do anything about it. And not that it's more of a policing matter, that one. But the Americans have a right to bear arms. There are 310 million guns available here in the United States. And that's basically a gun for every man, woman, and child in the country. I think the population is about 327 million, something like that. Wow. So that's just a massive amount of weapons. Look, the gun industry and all, and the NRA have a lot to answer for because this country is flooded with weapons, which brings me kind of circle back around to that race issue. Obviously, there are social, political, and economic issues affecting the African American community that need to be addressed. That's pretty much a given in my view. You can see the disparities. I can go through some of the details on that if you wish. But if you're looking at it from a policing perspective, 310 million weapons. When you're a cop in America, every cop has a gun, every cop has a taser, every cop wears bulletproof vests. Because when they're pulling up, and when they're bringing someone in on a traffic stop, they don't know if the person is armed, they don't know if there's drugs, they don't know how they're going to react. If you're a guard back home or a British police officer in Scotland, you're probably a bit more comfortable in that there's less of a threat of weapons from the individual that you're talking to. So here in the States, I mean, those cops have instantaneous decisions to make. They're antsy, they're very highly aware, and I think that's contributing to a lot of. There's nothing you can do about the guns. I mean, there's just too many of them. there's some guy walks into a school in Connecticut some years ago and kills 20 little kids, and they still didn't do anything about the guns in America, And when you let something like that go, you begin to realize, me as a Democrat, it's like, damn, we're not going to be able to change this. And even if we could change the gun legislation, there's 310 million weapons already available in this country. So it's a massive issue. So look, I think what I'm kind of touching on from a police perspective is they're trying to police in a very dangerous, volatile, and they're putting their lives at risk on a daily basis. And there's no doubt they are making mistakes. African-American people are getting killed. And again, social, political, economic disparities and discrimination against the African-American community, which could be systematic. It could be more subtle. I personally think it's a subtle type of discrimination. With taxation and underfunding of African-American schools. And there's a wide range of issues. I don't want to take up all your time.
No, Charlie. When I put it out at the last podcast, who the guests were and what we would be talking about, someone did say to me, why are you having someone that's going to talk about what's going on in America on a Celtic football podcast? And I said, it's not a Celtic football podcast. It's called Celtic Soul. I said, the fanzine is called More Than 90 Minutes. We want guests on here to speak about that are Celtic fans and Celtic players. And we will speak mostly about Celtic, but there is issues. Celtic supporters in Glasgow went out as a protest and renamed the streets in Glasgow. This wasn't the act of someone just coming up with a harebrained idea. This was thought out and done. These signs had to be made. They had to be put up.
I've seen that. And
there's always been a political element within the Celtic support. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, at the Lazio game, you could see their fans. I mean, they're giving swastika salutes and stuff, and that's the antithesis of everything that Celtic kind of stand for and believe in, whether it be our charitable origins with Brother Wilfred and our anti-fascist stance that exists amongst many of the fans and exhibited there by the support, by that act, if I might even use the term, an act of resistance, or perhaps just highlighting inequities, where I think there in Scotland and Glasgow, I think those street names were named after slave owners or people who had made money from the slave trade.
Yes.
And that type of action can maybe raise awareness in Glasgow itself. It was non-violent. I thought it was very creative. I thought it was very good. And that can maybe raise awareness in Glasgow City Hall to maybe kind of rethink some of those things and where they stand, So I thought it was very creative and, again, non-violent. I kind of liked it. It was a statement, a protest. And yeah, I like that one. I got a few texts on that when people sent me videos and stuff,
The point is, Charlie, for years we've been told that, politics doesn't mix with sport. And now we have black sports people, very high-profile sports people, not only in America but around the world, coming out. And I commend any football team that done it as well. I see the Liverpool team were the first, I think, to do it in England, to go around the centre circle and go down on one knee. I think, I would be surprised if Jurgen Klopp wasn't involved in that, because he seems to be a forward-thinking, radical manager.
Yeah, and politics and sport is difficult, and I'm in it for Celtic. I'm in it because I love football, and the politics aspect of it. Again, we're all individuals. We're all human beings. We have our opinions. Mine is tempered and coloured by my own life experiences growing up, and now here I am 30 years away in a different country, 33 years. So I understand totally, and about the difficulties when you're talking about social issues and political issues and economic issues that are wider and broader than Celtic Football Club. But yeah, it's a difficult topic. There's no doubt about it. I hope that it can be addressed here in the United States. And I think you mentioned earlier, it's not even just here in America. I see protests in London. I see the one you're referring to in Glasgow, but large gatherings in London and in Paris and different places, which kind of brings me to another point that can't be forgotten. And I think we're taking the eye off the ball here in the United States, again, because of bad political leadership. We're in the middle of a pandemic, there's coronavirus, COVID-19, and yet we're seeing tens of thousands of people marching on the White House and in Philadelphia and all around the country. So there's very little social distancing going on. We're trying to open up the country. And I think perhaps we need to remain cautious and vigilant because we are not out of this thing yet. It's tough for me because, I can't even go home to Ireland anymore. You're doing 2 weeks quarantine. So, I mean, that's if I can even get a flight, So it's just very difficult. I'm concerned that we'll see a bigger spike here in the States because of all the civil disorder and the marching. Hey, look, it's just the timing was difficult. It had to be done. And I think it's raised the awareness. And like you say, it's certainly, if not global, it's certainly pan-European and across the United States, because I'm seeing international solidarity, marches, etc. But yeah, that's the pandemic concerns me. There's no doubt about it. Like that is global, and we're not out of it.
Well, hopefully, Charlie, the next time we speak, we'll be one step closer, and you'll be a step closer getting home to Belfast to see your dad, and getting across the water to see the other love of your life, Celtic.
Yeah, 100%. I look forward to when I can get back home there and have a pint, chat with your good self, maybe stop by the studio again one of these days on my way up from Dublin, and I very much look forward to it. And hey, listen, I want to say thank you to you, because the Celtic fanzine.com and the More Than 90 Minutes fanzine, the podcast, the TV station, the content that you're putting out about Celtic is top quality. I love it. It's got me through this pandemic, keeping in touch with Celtic. I mean, there's the internet, and you're able to deliver this stuff and at a click of a button, you get good quality content. So thank you for that. And I look forward to seeing you again, buddy, when I can get back home to Ireland.
Thank you very much, Charlie, and I'll give you the $5 for that nice compliment. And I see you. Charlie, thanks a million, and stay safe.
Yes, you too, Millis. God bless.
God bless, friend.
Slán.
Thanks again there to Charlie. I always love chatting to him. Charlie would chat to anyone about Celtic. Just after I chatted to Charlie, Twitter and Facebook went absolutely mental when Celtic announced the virtual season tickets, and there would be no reduction for games that you couldn't attend. It's really, really upset a lot of fans, and I'm hoping we can get someone from Celtic on the podcast to chat about it, because there are some questions that need to be answered. On Saturday, I wrote a piece for CelticFanzine.com about the fiasco of the refunds for last year's tickets, and I was hoping that Celtic would have learned something from it, but obviously not. It just seems to be that they just really want to piss the fans off this summer. Some fans haven't walked in a couple of months. Some fans are broke. Some fans need a break. We should be looking forward to new players coming in to bolster the squad. We should be looking forward to doing the 10 in a row, and instead here we are arguing over season book prices for games we can't attend. Now that that's off my chest, here's how I got on with Bobby Petta. I'm delighted to be joined on the show by Bobby Petta. Bobby living in Glasgow now after he signed for Celtic by John Barnes, a product of the Feyenoord team from Rotterdam, his hometown, before moving to Ipswich and then on to Celtic. How are you doing, Bobby?
I'm not too bad. I mean, hay fever is a killer, but you know what I mean? It is what it is. But I'm good.
Keeping busy during the lockdown?
Yeah, as much as possible. So, yeah.
Good stuff, Bobby. Good stuff. Listen, thanks again for joining us. Bobby, there's so much going on in the world. We've COVID-19, and then we had the murder of George Floyd in America. Yeah. We have people out marching on the streets, and we finally seem to have sports people coming out and speaking out against this murder.
That was, I remember the Rodney King in the early 90s. That sparked a riot down in LA, and obviously now, a bit less than 20 years later, with George Floyd, and the police brutality, but especially in the United States, the racism has been there for God knows how long. There's always been like that. It will never change, in my opinion, because this is very deep rooted, and obviously what I've gathered is that obviously in Washington they're putting through a bill which normally takes longer, but obviously on severe pressure from the public all over the world now to do something about it. It's funny how, for example, you got the quarterback Kaepernick doing his kneeling down doing the anthem and stuff like that, and then you see a couple of years later they do this, and that was the whole reason why I believe he done it in the first place. Do you know what I mean? And I see a lot of people, governments, police forces and stuff all over, thinking that it just shows you something dramatic has to happen before people start to kind of listen it's unfortunate. It's just the way it is, because otherwise people will not be hurt. And unfortunately, something dramatic has to happen in order for things to change. So let's hope it will, and will open people's eyes. And it's all about, Black Lives Matter, but also all lives matter. So I think that's a point that needs to be made as well.
As a young boy growing up in Holland of Indonesian heritage, did you find any racism when you were coming through the underage system in Holland?
When I was at was my first team, a local team. Yeah, I was called Monkey and Chinese something, because they didn't know. So ignorance, people didn't know at the time. And we're talking about the 70s, 80s, early 80s. So yeah, I think we're very, very much different then. Was there a lot going on? I don't think there was where I stayed. Occasionally, but it wasn't, because Holland is such it's a small place, but a lot of people come from ethnic minorities, ethnic backgrounds, and it's if something racial would be said, but you just look around. There's a lot of Dutch people who have foreign backgrounds, and so the racism might still be a little bit there. But it's weird, because we're all the same, you know what I mean? But, a different color doesn't make a difference. But it's just the ignorance of people. So when I found out when I was younger, but not as often. Maybe I was fortunate. I don't know. But I had a couple of incidents, but that's about it. I let it go off my head, because I'm not Chinese. I'm not a monkey. So do what you want.
Disgusting to call anyone that, Bobby, but especially.
Yeah, I know, and it's kind of like, but it shows you that words are words, and they're powerful. They can be powerful, and it's not easy, because some people are very susceptible for that and sensitive towards it. To find it hard to kind of step away from it. I'm just kind of learning to kind of let it go over your head, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you get any racist comments from players as you moved through to the senior ranks, or from fans?
No, not at all. Not at all. I certainly didn't. I'm just thinking now, if I was called such certain words, and I don't know what I would have done. I would have responded. Would I felt like, referee, look, he's just doing that. I don't know. I'm that person that I said, right, okay. Yeah, I used it as a fuel to kind of show them, on the pitch, make them swallow their words, so to speak. So if they would call me monkey, I would like, and then you make the decisive. Make something happen, right? And you said that if you want to, straighten things up, you just want to do it on the pitch, and prove them wrong. And it's just ignorance, right? It's hard, but people are just weird and rude and not educated. It's just a weakness from that point of view, but it's not right, and then it needs to be changed.
Sure does, Bobby. Sure does, and people like you can change it by speaking out.
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but we are in a position where where we've got a platform and we've got a following, and that's why the social media is good to reach out to people. It's not about drawing attention to yourself. It's not about putting the message out there, because you have a platform to reach out to a lot of people to hopefully make a change.
And Bobby, the former coach of yours, John Barnes, has been quite vocal on TV this week, speaking out. He's spoke out many times over the years about, he says, it's a society problem. It's not just football's problem. This is a society problem.
Yeah, I think it's cool. John Barnes comes from a different era, from different upbringing, and it's been through, through times when I would say it was at the time maybe what was worse supposed to be obviously his background. There's a problem, especially at the time of in England. So there was a lot. If I see now the movies and what you see on just then on TV and history, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. As well as my background, what I've experienced was far less. So I could totally understand that when things like this have happened, he's like, well, okay, it's time to kind of like raise that again, talk about it, because it's still happening. It's always happening. Do you know what I mean? And I think social media it's been in a way could have highlighted straight away. Do you know what I mean? And I know he's been very vocal. I've been doing that for years. So hopefully to make the point across, but you have to bear in mind he's experienced a lot more of that in his lifetime, and I haven't, in a way, fortunately, because I can't even imagine when it was, what these people have to go through. You know what I mean? Being kind of all these kind of things, and it's hard. It's not easy, but I'm glad that he has been vocal about it. And so has Sterling now, and so has been a lot of athletes from different sports in different countries, and that's good. But not just black people, also white people and stuff like that. they've been vocal too because they don't appreciate it. So it's good that they are using it now, especially this day and age. You can make a difference, whereas maybe 10 years ago it just wasn't. You know what I mean? Because otherwise it would have happened already. But it's just the way it is through time.
Now, of course, Bobby, it was John Barnes that brought you to Celtic. The system didn't really suit.
No, I know. We wanted to play 4-2-2-2, and it was kind of like the times that Brazil used to play that system. I thought we're not Brazil. We have fantastic players. I didn't gel. And then,
you had one Brazilian.
Yeah,
shy by name and shy by nature.
That was Rafael Scheid. Man. Rafael was a good guy. His name is freaking unfortunate, being here in Scotland, of course, but he didn't know that. So obviously that's the thing with the language, man. They just play with words.
Indeed, it was your second manager that moved him on fairly quickly. When Martin O'Neill came in, Raphael was surplus to requirements.
Yeah, he does. It was very look. He can play, man. He can play football. I didn't think it was, the whole climate and the football suited him. It's just the way it is. Just because, he's got talent. He's got, obviously the Brazil national team and stuff. But yeah, I think a certain competition needs to suit you. And obviously the Scottish one didn't. And obviously, if it doesn't go well, especially with a big club like Celtic, and your name sounds like Scheid, then it's not,
And you play like Scheid.
It's a bit unfortunate, isn't it?
Now, Bobby, he got kicked out fairly quick, but man, talk to you when you come in. There was some amazing performances that stick out. Obviously, the 6-2, Juve away when you come off the bench in the second half, Ajax the goal. Speak us through a couple of them, will you?
But the Ajax one was obviously my second season. I just had to prove people wrong because I know what I was capable of doing. I didn't get my confidence back up. So the club was going through a transition phase, upstairs in a boardroom, but also obviously during the dressing room because there was a new generation of players coming through. And then after when Martin O'Neill, he kind of looked at what was there. Obviously, he's a smart guy. Looked already before saying yes to Celtic. Already had a look, and did his homework, and had to look for himself. And then he got the players in that he wanted to get into the team. Into the squad and made it what has happened and for me to get the opportunity to showcase what I always know what I was capable of doing, but I wasn't able to. Again, different system in first year, adjust, not been able to play in a position where you actually been playing for in Ipswich on a wing. Marcel played 3-5-2 and during the preseason, during the practice games, friendlies, I was able to get the nod eventually. I think it was very early in the season. I think this second or third game of the season to get the nod. And it was special. And my first Old Firm game playing in it. Yeah, they couldn't, and obviously Louis van Gaal, the Dutch manager there, and then noticed me, and it just everything fell into place. And I was getting a lot of stick from fans in Glasgow, Celtic, and the other side of the town and of the city, and it wasn't very nice, and it was tough. And I think a lot of the people had written me off, and I thought this guy, we don't want him back. And after that year, and I think a lot of football players would have left, but I stayed and tried to prove them wrong. It was kind of like the same scenario for me when I was in my first year at Ipswich, and kind of adjust myself. And it took a year. So it's been some great performances from the team. I'm just glad to be part of it, and it's exceptional, especially afterwards when you just look back at it and you get so appreciated by the fans. And
you've still a great relationship with the fans, Bobby.
Yeah. I'll stay here, and I'm a very easy guy. I like the interaction with the fans, with people. I appreciate what I've done, and it's just great. And I think a lot of the former players who played for the Celtic Rangers, they love it, and because back in Holland they don't really get the appreciation because we have a different mentality towards it, different attitude. But here it's just fantastic, and that's when you realize how much it means to families here. Once you've played for the team, you'll be in their hearts, and it's just nice.
You're playing for a cause when you come to Celtic, Bobby.
Yeah, and if you know the history, it's it. There's a lot of similarities to my background and stuff, and the cause, and what it's like. It touches a certain part of my life, and I can relate to it. So
that full season under Martin O'Neill, treble winning season, a brilliant season for you. but it could have been so much better. You got plenty of injuries. And those injuries, every time you seem to get called up to the Dutch senior squad, which was packed with superstars, like there was serious talent in that team. Every time you get called up, you seem to get injured.
I seem to get injured. I got injured, and the first time we ever got called up, we played at home against Motherwell, and I hit a shot goal. I tore my groin, and my family and friends didn't know, but they were congratulating me on being selected to the Dutch team to play against Turkey. And I was like, really? Wow. But I'm injured. What am I doing? So that was my first disappointment. Second, then after the Ajax game, I was supposed to make my JB against England, White Hart Lane. I was there, obviously got the shirt, and I wasn't able to play because the day before the game, finishing on goal, and I tore my hamstring. And then the third time, I was going to play against Andorra. And in training, there was a cross and finishing session, and the ball played out to the wing towards me. But it kind of like was in the air and it bounced in front of me. And I tried to get the ball down. So I got it down. As soon as my left foot touched the ground, pop, I could feel it. I finished the training drill. But I knew that. And I felt deadly embarrassed. That was terrible. And that was the last time because I think the disappointment of going ups and downs, and not playing for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and then playing in Europe straight away, and then you do well, and the consistency wasn't there, and it's hard, man. And then there was also a lot of things going on at the time back home, and I'm quite a sensitive player, being a winger as well. I mean, you always kind of like you feed off the public, and feeding off the service you get on the day, but personally as well, it's just at home needs to be all right as well, and that wasn't. And the combination of both, unfortunately, it stayed to those call-ups, and but I never been able to kind of come back to consistent high standards. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. I'm not happy with it, but yeah, it is what it is.
And Bobby, going back to Feyenoord, because you always hear about the youth system. When did Henrik come in? When did you first meet Henrik?
Henrik came in, and it's in the year when I went on loan to RKC. Now, I would have been 93, I think, season 93. And he came in, we did training session in the first weekend, and I actually left to go on loan to RKC because Giovanni from Bronkhorst, my cousin and my teammate at the time, he came back from a very successful stint at RKC. With that in mind, they sent me over there, and that's when the season when Henrik came through, and that was then in 93. And it's weird how football works. It's not until, let's say, was it 5-6 years later that you're back in the same club and the same shirt, and same goes for me, Reggie Blinker. You know what I mean? He was always the one that was in front of me at Feyenoord. When I came through when I was 16, I was at the first team, and at the time Wim Jansen, we all know Wim. He took me there. So it's fantastic to look back and see how coaches and players meet again at some stage of their active playing career, and it's nice.
A couple of more players I'm just going to bring up that you played with at Celtic. I'm going to go back to Celtic now. You've been known to have a good night out, and there was a famous Christmas night out where Tomo was supposed to be looking after you in Newcastle, and he didn't get arrested. He was a good boy in his hometown. Just tell us a little about yourself, Big Hughes, Johan, and a certain Mr. Neil Lennon getting lifted by the police.
Oh man, that was, what can I say, man? I know you've heard different versions, different stories, but it just was. So that Neil got, I think, arrested for this breaching the peace. Now, who would have thought that he would get caught for that? And knowing his temper. So he was the first one, to be honest. He stayed overnight. He was the first one to leave as well in the morning. But obviously they want to speak to me, Joost and Johan, me first, because and I said, "Do you need a lawyer?" I'm like, "I don't need a freaking lawyer." I'm like, "I've done nothing." Do you know what I mean? So obviously thinking, let's speak to Bobby first, because that would be easy. That would solve the case straight away. And then obviously the lawyers started the lawyer, and then we all did a bit, and to be honest, it was just funny because we were all kind of, enjoying ourselves as you do. That's why it's Christmas night out, and it's just like, what's going on? Because the point was Celtic and Rangers were going to go meet in Newcastle, and that would be a story, right? Two old firms, Christmas party in the same place in Newcastle. Great place, by the way. But they went to Manchester. We also went to Newcastle, and then something happened in a bar, and then somebody spotted, because there was groups there as well who I didn't know, that kind of following us around, and then the photographer got spotted, and then people ran up, they just took.
So someone took the photographer's camera off, was it?
Yeah, take the camera off, and then I don't see things happen. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, the guy was on last, but just I could still see it, man. He was going to the ground as if it's like the referee, right? When they kind of pushed the referee and he just made a freaking mess of it, that kind of thing, right? I'm like, what are you doing? So I stood in front of him. So when he got up, he obviously remembered. Oh, he must have been a runner. So yeah. And then he came to the club and walked past me. Didn't see me. Then I walked back out. That's him. And then I got lifted. I was like a scene out of a movie. I got lifted, put in a police car, and then I drove past Didier and Bobo, and I started laughing, started pointing. I was taken away, right? In a police car. I'm like, what the hell? What am I doing? He says, how long is this going to take? They go, oh, it's just a couple of hours. I was so naive. I didn't know. I was like, how long is it going to take? Because it's got a party to get back to. Young
boys on a Christmas night out. Bobby,
man, but
you're no stranger now to clubs. You're still going to clubs, but you're going now to do something different. You're a house DJ now.
Yeah, the house DJ now. And to be honest, the clubbing is different things. Make commercial. I don't really necessarily like that. I like the underground sound more because it reminds me back in Holland. There was a club in Rotterdam, and it was underground house, man. That was early 90s, and still that sound is still out at the moment, and what it will always be, it always has been. But I like that underground sound, and it's just nice. I'll go to where there's music gigs in SWG3 or in the festivals. It's weird. It's not just house, it's techno, it's disco, it's all kinds. Depends on my mood, but yeah, clubs, no. But if there's a freaking gig, SWG3 or any other great places like the Bat, which is in East End, they've got some very, very good obviously acts performing, and it's just cool. I mean, music, man. Music is life. Football, it's the same. It connects people. It's just energy. It's rhythm. It's everything, and that's why I like it.
Oh, I love it, Bobby. The energy of football and the rhythm. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. You yourself, man. You like your reggae,
I do like a bit of reggae, yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say now, I do like. I like my reggae goes backwards. I don't go forward. I'm not as progressive as you.
Yeah, but this is it. Music is how you feel. Music doesn't discriminate. We talk about discriminating at the start of this conversation. Music is doesn't discriminate. It's you either feel it or you don't feel it. You know what I mean?
Music unites, Bobby. Exactly. Music unites. Bobby, it's been an absolute pleasure as always, and I'm looking forward to getting into one of these clubs to have a night out with you.
Yeah, we're going to play some reggae. Let's play some reggae.
And Conor, my son, who DJs as well, he's more on your line. He loves techno. He's looking forward to...
I know he likes his techno. But,
I know you had a good conversation one night at one of the dinners.
Correct.
So he's on the decks now himself. So he said maybe you can do a double bubble gig.
Yeah, why not? Let's make it happen.
Listen, Bob, it's been a pleasure as always, and hopefully we'll get you back on, and maybe we'll get some more nightclub stories.
Yes, not a problem. Stay tuned.
Bobby, stay safe, and we'll see you soon in Glasgow.
Yeah, you too. See you soon. Yeah, we will, man. Let me know.
Cheers, pal.
Cheers, man. Have a good one. Stay safe.
It was great to chat to Bobby there. On the next episode of the podcast, I'll be chatting to Johnny Ward, a member of Nave Park Celtic Supporters Club, and quite famous on the old acting scene from Love Hate, Fair City, and he was also a bit of a mover on the floor in Dancing with the Stars. So once again, folks, thank you very much for listening, and please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and tell all your friends. And please get in contact with us on social media through Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Give us your comments on the show. Let us know what you think and let us know who you'd like to see on the show. Or would you like to be on the show? Have you got a story to tell about following Celtic? Please visit our website, celticfanzine.com, where you'll find all the information on the fanzine, news and articles on a daily basis, and also you'll be able to dip into our shop and buy one of our new t-shirts. If you want to look cool down the pub, you want to be wearing one of these. Because let's face it, it's been a while since we got to the pub. So just before we wrap up, I'd like to thank our guests tonight, Bobby Petta and Charlie Lord, and I'd also like to thank once again our producer, Ronan McQuillan. So keep the faith and stay safe.